to the Remote No Pressure Podcast, Bill.
Hey, welcome. Hello.
How are things going at the house?
Oh, can't complain. Not too bad on my side.
Yeah, you're working a lot though.
Yeah.
So that's
As of
That's
right
good.
now when we're recording it, I am.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna keep working, bro.
Well, we're thinking ahead also for what to do when we can't.
Yeah,
So I'm not too worried.
yeah, you'll be good. You'll be all right.
Yep.
And what a weird time though. What a
It
weird
is.
time to be living through. I told
I
my
know.
kids, I was like, look, this will probably be. I'm looking at the camera. See that?
Yeah.
I told my kids, I said, this is probably going to be something that you will never experience again in your life. I'm
Yeah.
encouraging my 10-year-old to keep a journal because I was like, 20 years from now, you're going to look back and be like, man, we were out for like 3 weeks for
Yeah.
school, 4 weeks, because we're closed for 3 weeks and it backs up to spring break. So it's 4 weeks total.
Yep.
They're out of school.
Yeah.
And so my wife's spa shut down. That was crazy.
Yep.
Everything's like just shut down. My office in Holland, you go there, it's an office share space.
Yeah.
And there was one person there.
That's crazy.
And the downtown Holland, you know what downtown Holland's like. The
Yeah.
whole place is closed down. It's just wild. I've never seen anything like it.
It is interesting. It's crazy right now. Yeah. And the hordes at the stores who cleaned out all the toilet paper and all the hand sanitizer, all the cleaning products.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Yeah, the hordes at the store. Sometimes it's really hard not to make inappropriate jokes because I forget that we have like a community listening in.
Yeah.
Like say the house band fecal discharge. They
Yeah.
had to like stop their tour, and because of all this COVID-19 thing, there was a toilet paper shortage. So all their concerts are like completely messed up, and
A
like,
soap shortage, so they couldn't wash their hands afterwards.
so
Just disgusting mess.
they're done. I mean, toilet paper is a part of their show. So even before there was a mandate to stop, they were shut down. They came off tour. They're doing some live streaming stuff.
You don't want to watch that though. What are you watching online? Fecal discharge.
Not safe for work, people. HR comes. I noticed you had some searches that were inappropriate. That were on
We gotta
your
talk.
computer. We gotta talk. Well, it's just my favorite band. It's the house band from Remote No Pressure.
Check them out.
And every time I say their name, every time I say fecal discharge, I cringe a little bit. Because it is inappropriate. It's extremely juvenile. But you know what? People love it.
It reminds me of, you remember baked Lay's back in the day?
Yeah.
And there's an ingredient in there that would cause you to have anal discharge. Like,
Really?
yep. And I can't remember what it was.
Was there like a warning on the bag?
Yeah, I believe there was.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
If you guys
Anal leakage. That's what it was. It
Are
said
you
anal
serious?
leakage. Yep.
on the bag.
On the bag.
Okay, we got to get a picture of this bag stat.
I'm fairly positive. I know I saw it on the news a lot. I'm pretty sure it's on the bag, but if not,
That's
you
disgusting.
can just Google baked Lay's and anal leakage, but not at work.
But not at work. But rest assured, our house band is they've made so much money from the tour this year that they're just sitting back smoking cigars and going fishing. So you guys don't
nice.
worry about the house band. Couple of events you got coming up. Well, I guess all of our events in March, April, and May have been canceled. But we do have an unbelievable event that I'm super excited about. Yes, we're having an event because the show must go on, people. This will go on March the 31st. We are going.
Are you sure about that date? I'm totally giving you a hard time.
Dude,
totally
if you
giving
guys
a hard
listened
time.
to the last episode, our midweek episode last week, COVID-19, Bill had threw me off about 5 times with dates. The date is March the 31st, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There's no April involved.
No April.
It's March the 31st, Tuesday. March the 30th. I forgot the date. March the 31st, we are having a live fly tying night. We are having Matt Peisert. He's going to be here doing a live fly tying demo with his smallmouth bass fly butt stuff. Mm-hmm. It's an articulated fly. It's an amazing fly. It's yellow. It's great. If you guys want to tie along, you can go to our website because this is not something as part of our business plan or anything like that. It's just something that we want to do. You go to remotenopressure.com. You order all the materials online. We have a whole package there. You can just order and you can tie along with us on March the 31st, Tuesday at 8 p.m. We also still have giveaways. Kaz still donated some stuff to give away as well.
Awesome.
And we will mail that to you. So be sure to tune in March 31st at 8 p.m. to our Facebook page, to our Instagram page. The show must go on. We're not gonna just sit around and not do anything.
Yeah. But we might that night.
Yeah.
But
and me and Bill,
after we're done tying.
Because me and Bill are awful tiers. Bill, have you ever even tied a fly?
No. Like I said in the last episode, I buy shoes without laces because I'm lazy and I don't tie well. So.
Well, you know what? Me and Bill are gonna have a tie off because I've tied flies like basic. You know what? We're gonna get you trained up over the next week. We're gonna train you up. Okay, we're gonna get you trained. But if you guys want to tie along, go to remotenopressure.com. We'll also put a link in the show notes there. And you guys can go and tie along with us, and you can get the materials, everything you need to tie 5 of these flies. You go to our website at remotenopressure.com. We're going to ship that to you ASAP. Now, we also have a couple of, because of our events are canceled, we're sitting on some merch. So we have the Bigfoot. We have a bigger Bigfoot decal. Before it was like a 3.5 inches, now 5 inch. It looks awesome.
Bigger Bigfoot? That's
like bigger Bigfoot.
It's almost like a double negative.
A bigger Bigfoot.
Like a triple positive?
A larger Sasquatch per se.
That's it.
You like that per se?
Per se.
A larger Sasquatch per se. Quick side note. I used to clean a giant office building called Per Se. And I think they were a translation service. There was like per PER say SAY. Something like that.
So what's that translate into?
I'm not sure. But anyways, they had like I think they had like 100 employees and 2 bathrooms, one for men and one for women, and I had to clean this thing twice a week in the middle of the night. It was off Kalamazoo and 44th.
Okay, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it was like midnight because I'd play a gig. I would play at Access with Nate Phillips, Big Nate Dog. And I'd play with Nate Phillips. And after the gig, I'd go clean office places. And this is one. And that area is not a super
nice area.
Yeah. And when you're taking the garbage out at midnight, it's pretty scary.
Woo.
Anyways.
You're a brave man.
Anyways,
it's gentrified now, hasn't it?
I think it's a Starbucks now. I think it's a Starbucks and a couple.
Still just 100 employees and 2 bathrooms.
I think it's a brownstone. I think a couple of brownstones moved in a Starbucks. So and only 2 bathrooms. No, but seriously, go to our website remotenopressure.com. We also have we went back to the die cut trout sticker, which is an amazing Tumblr sticker. So we're sitting on this. So be sure to go there. And order up. We'd love to see your orders come in. It would help. But let's just say, for instance, you're a passive listener. You haven't really quite bought completely in to the Remote No Pressure podcast. Maybe your credit card has been canceled for maybe your wife canceled your credit card for some suspicious charges there. Okay? Awkward. And you say, I don't want to actually do that. Here's some other ways that you can help. We're looking to get 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. I know that doesn't seem like a lot these days. To us, it's a lot because we don't cheat. We're not buying followers, okay? Yeah. So go to YouTube. Leave some comments. We appreciate all of that. That's huge. Also, leaving reviews. You guys have done an amazing job leaving some reviews, leaving comments on YouTube. Get engaged, because that helps with the algorithms and that helps more downloads as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because we've noticed some good downloads.
Yeah, we have. Some awesome traction.
In other news. I think it's 7 seconds.
I don't know. Did you count 7 seconds?
I think we're early.
Oh,
I think maybe too long.
It'll be fine. It'll be okay.
It'll be okay because guys, we put in that little sound clip after we record.
Yeah, it's not live.
It's not live, and you'd think after so many episodes we'd have it down, but it's still like, are we long enough?
We don't have the budget for live.
Yeah, we gotta hire a producer, but nothing is worse than being quarantined by yourself
and being lonely.
And this is not an ad. This is not an ad for anybody.
Actually, it is.
I guess it's an ad, but it's not a paid-for ad. Now, as most of you know, Bill and I are conspiracy theorists. We like to claim that we are the home of fake news.
Yeah. Well, we're not the home, but we like to exploit it.
We like to exploit fake news. It's interesting. It's fun.
Yeah.
And so we happen to visit websites.
So today, you're making it sound like we're looking at So today,
Okay, go ahead, Bill. Go ahead.
so
It's all
today,
yours.
in our exploit for finding good fake news or good conspiracy-minded information to pass along, we happened upon a dating site.
Dating site.
Yeah.
Now, me and Bill are happily married. I've been married
Yeah.
15 years. You just got married in October.
Today is 5 months.
So we clicked on this ad.
Yeah.
What did we find, Bill?
Paranormal date. You are not alone.
Wow. So do you date the paranormal beings, or like you? It's a dating website for. I guess it's for people who believe in the paranormal.
Yeah. Yeah.
But my question is, does it couple you up with a paranormal being or an actual human being that believes in paranormal beings?
Yeah. And what if your paranormal being is shy or quiet? Did you really get paired up?
Very good question.
Or are they just charging you now for nothing? That would be a brilliant business strategy.
Dude, I tell you what, maybe some of our people that are furloughed right now or laid off would like to be a paranormalist, right? I mean, get people to go up and sign up on our paranormal app, and they can pretend to be paranormal beings. I mean, paranormal, I've heard of farmers.com. Like
Farmers only.
Farmersonly.com.
Yep. That song gets stuck in your head.
How does it go, Bill?
I don't remember.
Because it's not stuck in my head, Bill.
Yeah, me neither anymore. I don't watch TV anymore. I don't know.
What is it? Farmer. I'm not even going to try. So let's go to the about section here of a paranormal date. Hold on, there was something. I like the homepage better here. There's like a ghostly figure.
Yep.
Soulmates interested in the strange.
Yes.
Life after death. Maybe you believe in ghost stories, UFOs, science. How is science? Like
paranormal.
Paranormal.
Science.
It's like life after death.
Oh.
Ghost stories.
Conspiracy. Then what's the last one though?
UFOs. Maybe you believe in conspiracies. Bigfoot. Bigfoot is one of them. Or if you believe in science. Like, what the heck is that? Like, if you believe in science, we've got a date for you. It's like, maybe you're just highly educated. It's free to search and send messages. Members in your area. And there's George Norrie right there. I guess he's behind it. George Norrie, syndicated radio host of Coast to Coast AM and Sirius XM satellite radio, entertaining millions weekly of over 700 radio stations, created Paranormal Date after seeing a need from his massive loyal audience.
Wow, I didn't know George Norrie made this. All right.
Norrie says, I keep hearing the same thing at speaking events around the country. George, I need a place to meet people of like mind that understand me and my interest. From that, paranormaldate.com was born.
Okay.
There he is talking
All
about
right.
it. I wonder if he's single, George Norrie.
I don't know. Not anymore.
Maybe he secretly did it for himself. But that's what I don't understand. Why is science listed in all these weird things? That really bothers me because I believe in science. Actually, I believe in all of these things.
Yeah.
Ghost stories, I'm
Yeah.
not,
No, I don't believe in ghosts.
UFOs, I believe, are tied into life after death.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone here knows I'm a conspiracy
Yep,
theorist.
same.
And everyone here knows that I make fun of Bigfoot sightings.
Yeah. Oh, you don't believe in Bigfoot?
No,
Is
I
that
don't
what you're
believe
saying?
in
You don't
Bigfoot.
think there's a interdimensional being known as Bigfoot?
I believe in the dog man.
How could it not be one and the same?
Maybe there was two unique breeds of Bigfoot. Maybe there was a northwestern Bigfoot with a midwestern Sasquatch that came together
The Midwestern accent.
with a midwestern accent, and all of a sudden they have the dog man.
Maybe. It might very well be.
Oh my God, this is so stupid. But it's fun. It's fun to talk about
That's
stuff
right.
like that. And this week we have on the podcast, I'm very excited because it's Mr. Forrest Rogers. And Forrest Rogers is one of the founders of Rock Treads. They're these aluminum discs that go on the bottom of your wading boot so they can replace felt.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's an amazing product. He sent some out to me, and they're an awesome product. So I'm very excited that Forrest is here. It's big thanks to Joe and the boys over at Flywaters for making the introduction. But yeah, he's an awesome guy. He's a fly angler, and he kind of talks about the stories, how it came about with him and his co-founder. And it's an excellent episode. It really puts things into perspective. So welcome to the podcast. Let's light the fire. Well, today on the Remote No Pressure podcast, I'm very excited to have with us Mr. Forrest Rogers. Thanks for hanging out with me, Forrest.
Well, thanks for having me.
Now you're based out of Montana, am I right?
I am. We're in a sleepy little ski town called Red Lodge, Montana. We're the northeast entrance into Yellowstone.
Oh wow, it's got to be a beautiful place.
It's a town called Red Lodge, Montana. We're basically a dead end road when the pass is closed, which leads into Cook City and into the Lamar Valley of Yellowstone. We're at 5,500 feet. The ski hill's at 7,500, and the top of the pass is around 11,000 feet. So we're surrounded by mountains.
Did you grow up there, or are you from there? How'd you
I did
end up
not.
there?
I'm a Razorback, Arkansas native, and grew up basically on the coast of North Carolina. But I played college golf, and my roommate married a girl from Montana, and went to the wedding and met my wife as a bridesmaid, and we lived all over the southeast for 15 years, and I'd always tried to get to move to Montana, but it's not exactly a job-rich country area. And we started Rock Treads back in 15, and things just started getting busy, kept being busier and busier, and requiring more and more attention. And it got to the point where we either going to focus on it or quit. So we decided to focus on it and move to Montana. My wife's originally from Billings, which is quote unquote the biggest city in Montana. It's a whopping population of 140,000. And
Wow.
We lived with my in-laws for a little bit, and so we could just figure it out. We've got two kids, got a 12 and an 8-year-old, and so we wanted to make the move before they started junior high, and things got very dramatic, and so we just pulled the plug and did it. And then this past summer, we were able to move to the town we wanted to. We got married here in this town 15 years ago, and my wife's family was always here. It's about an hour outside of Billings, but all her siblings were on the ski team and stuff like that, and we'd always come here and always said we were going to get here one day, and this summer we did it.
That's excellent. That's awesome. Now, where are you from in Arkansas?
Stuttgart, Arkansas. It's the rice, duck, and mosquito capital of the world. It's if you're a duck hunter at all, it's pretty famous for that. The Max Prairie Wings is probably the biggest hunting store in the world. is based out of there, but also Uncle Ben's and Riceland and Comet Rice are all come out of there. It's crazy what our country grows that nobody has an idea about, but rice is they grow more rice there than anywhere else in the world.
Isn't that something? That's crazy.
It is. Yeah. My parents split when I was in third grade. My mom moved us to the coast of North Carolina, which was awesome. It was really, I grew up in a little town called Bath, North Carolina. It's from third grade through high school, I guess. Home of Blackbeard the Pirate, North Carolina's first town. It's a huge town of 200, and but it's right on the Pamlico Sound, and I could be at the Outer Banks in 40 minutes by boat, which was, we often would disappear, go to the beach, and before cell phones or anything like that. So it was fun to be able to disappear for days on end and not get in trouble because mom knew we had the boat.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a cool place to grow up, though. That'd be an amazing place to grow up.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, that's where we started fishing. Always, you either worked in tobacco, played golf, played football, or fished, and we tried to do all four as much as possible, basically. And it was a really small area. We were in a county of maybe 10,000. The biggest town in the county was 40 minutes away. It's maybe like 8,000 people. But all surrounded by water. The Pamlico Sound, it's the Tar River, which maybe you've heard of the Tar Heels of North Carolina.
Sure.
It's due to that river, and that river flowed into town and turned into what's called the Pamlico Sound, which then goes out to there's a narrow strip of land called the Outer Banks that separates it from the ocean, and it's a really neat estuary. Redfish the size of cars, flounders the size of trash can lids.
Wow.
Speckled trout all fall. You can catch your limit I've been with my uncle sometimes, and we've caught our limit on specks in like maybe 15 minutes.
Wow.
And that's really what led me to go to a fly rod. That and we just basically got bored with conventional tackle. You could catch. It was just. It's such a in the 90s, and I'm sure it still is. Everybody I know still fishes all the time. But it was such a rich estuary, I guess you'd say, that fishing wasn't. It was catching. It wasn't just fishing. Mm-hmm. And so we started picking up fly rods probably about 8th or 9th grade. I remember my first one was it was a combo kit from TFO. I think it was $80 then. And I was like, I can't believe I'm spending $80 on a new boat. And it was interesting, but it was fun. Just catching saltwater on a fly rod it's completely different than catching trout. But you got to have a boat, and that's always a hindrance as you become an adult.
Yeah, that's kind of key, especially in that area. I grew up on the Gulf of Mexico down in Houston, and we used to catch speckled trout, redfish, same kind of stuff, But when you tell me, flounder the size of trash can lids and redfish the size of automobiles, it sounds almost unbelievable, But I'm sure you're telling the truth.
Right. Well, if you got a minute, go to Google and type in Pamlico Sound redfish, and they've got what they call it the Carolina hug, and it's the only way you can hold these redfish is you gotta, like you're carrying wood into the fireplace is the only way you can hold these stinking things. They're huge.
Unbelievable.
Nobody knows about it, and the only people that ever fish it are locals. We get some Virginians creeping down, but it's really neat. There's a phosphate mine, which there's only apparently like 2 or 3 of them in the country. It's what you make fertilizer out of. And there's one on the Pamlico Sound, and what was it? It was the early 2000s. The EPA required them to change something that they were doing within their filtration system of taking water out of the sound, blasting rock, and then filtering it and putting it back in the sound. But what they did is it makes this is my understanding. I'm sure somebody will happily correct me, but I understand that they put back colder, more oxygenated water into from what they take out, and when they put it back in, it's colder and it has higher oxygen content, and it's causing all the old seafood of the world to find this oxygen-rich area. East Carolina University is doing these crazy studies. They're finding blue crabs that they think are 30 years old that have made their way to this water. The redfish, I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say it's uncommon, but it's not hard to catch one that's 35 inches long, and it's not uncommon to catch them in the 40s and 50s even.
Wow.
And it's like this has become the fountain of youth for seafood, for aquatic life in that brackish water. It's fresh water mixed with the salt, and it's got a real brown tannin to it because of all the pine trees in the area. And it's an interesting. You can't sight fish. I mean, you can sight fish if you see their fins, but you can't. You don't ever see fish because the water's so brown. And it's really interesting.
Yeah. You got to follow the birds, right? That's
always.
I miss saltwater fishing. I grew up doing it, and now I live up in Michigan. And it's kind of a weird story because my one of my best friends is from Magee, Arkansas. I don't know if you're familiar with what that is. And so he moved up here right out of college and had a job. And he said, you should come work up here with me for a little while. He met his wife. I came up here to work with him, and I met my wife. And we're both still in Michigan.
Where are you at in Michigan?
Grand Rapids area.
Okay. One of my best friends from high school was the head of oncology there.
Sweet.
At the hospital.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, from eastern North Carolina to Grand Rapids, Michigan. He went to Notre Dame, first kid in our county to ever go to Notre Dame, and ended up staying up in that area.
Wow, Notre Dame's a great school. Michigan's slightly better, but Notre Dame's okay, I'm totally kidding. Yeah. I'm from Texas. It doesn't matter, but I know there's a huge rivalry between, South Bend and Ann Arbor, but.
Yeah. It gets so cold and so gray for so long that they find anything they can argue about.
Oh my gosh, you don't even know the grayness. And you spend all winter tying flies, spend all winter hunkered down, and now I'm in the middle of a quarantine, And so my kids are out of school for the next 3 weeks, and it backs up to spring break, so they're out of school for a month, and it's like
ours are 3 weeks with the spring break. We got 2 weeks and then spring break. It's going to be interesting. I know it's hopefully people take it serious and regardless of the fact that it's an inconvenience to your life, just chill out, stay home. It's what's the old saying? This too shall pass.
Yeah, I saw a meme that said your grandparents were asked to go to war. You're asked to sit on your butt and watch Netflix. I think you'll be okay. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so but it's it really has hurt a lot of businesses. With a lot of fly shops, because a lot of, for instance, a lot of fly shops in northern Michigan, the mom and pop shops, they go to these trade shows, and that's where they make all their money for the winter. A lot of them will close up for the winter, and they've canceled all the shows. So it's been kind of an interesting couple of weeks. Now with Rock Treads, how did you guys? Can you tell us a little bit of? First of all, I greatly appreciate you sending out a set of Rock Treads, and I put my hands on them. They're an amazing product. I'm really impressed with the quality and they're just amazing. But you guys are out there trying to remove felt from wading boots. Can you tell us a little bit about the product and how it came about for us?
Yeah, totally. So in one of the adventures in life, I lived in the mountains of Northeast Tennessee, with a little town called Johnson City. Bristol is another town that's more famous than Johnson City, I guess, because it has a NASCAR track. But it's got the South Olson River. It's got two unbelievable tailwaters there. The South Olson River and the Watauga River. The Tennessee Valley Authority back in the Depression era built all these dams. You can get in a boat in Northeast Tennessee and make it to the Gulf of Mexico if you can portage over the dams. It's a pretty neat system that they built, and it's a really awesome fishery. With the tailwaters, everything's coming out of the bottom of a humongous lake, and I think the South Olson's about 140 miles shoreline, so it's a good sized lake, and it constantly puts out 40-degree oxygen rich cold water to make this river. And we were fishing it all the time, and because of its high oxygen content and everything, the snot would grow pretty good. And it's got some slate and granite bottoms, big long flat rocks that are the bottom of the river. And it's not known to be treacherous like the Deschutes or something like that because of its flow, but it's just treacherous because it's impossible to walk on. My buddy and I were fishing, and he's a former offensive lineman, and I call him a stumbling rhino. He's not the most graceful when it comes to walking in general, much less in the river. And we were sitting there one night and had a couple of maker's marks on the rocks, and we're just thinking of ways to make it better. And I had tried several different studs that were out there, and we had it was also a little bit of a drought at the time, and they were running the water really low. And there's a good section on one of the other tailwaters called Watauga that's a trophy section, and the only way you can get there, it's a federally mandated trophy water, which is single barbless hooks, no live bait, no all catch and release. And the only way to get in there is with a boat. We didn't have one, and so we borrowed this old aluminum canoe from a neighbor and started going. And every time we would hit a rock, we would stick like glue. And I kept blaming Scott, my partner, for being a big boy, I guess we'd say. I won't call him what we normally called him. And we had to get out of the canoe and slide it across the rock and then get back in and go. And it was a disaster. And so we got home after one of that trip, and we're just thinking about it. And it's like, why don't we put aluminum on our shoe? And we were like, I don't know, how are we going to do that? And then that's right when Patagonia launched the first boot with aluminum bars on it. And I remember they had an ad in the Drake magazine. They had the back cover of it, and it was sitting there in the workshop or in the garage, and it was like, well, I don't want to spend $300 for a pair of boots. Why don't we figure out a way to do it ourselves? So one thing led to another. Scott is actually a financial planner by trade, and he had a customer that owned a big machine shop in the area. So we went to him and said, "Can you make us some? We want to bolt some aluminum onto our boots." And after he stopped laughing, he said, "Well, how thick do you want it? What kind of aluminum do you want? What size shape do you want?" And all these pertinent questions that we should have thought about before we got there. We were like, "I don't have a clue." So we pulled out the change in our pocket, and we had a 50-cent piece for some reason, a quarter and a nickel. And we said, make them this big around. And he was like, "Okay, what kind of aluminum?" And we were like, "I don't know. What's the hardest kind you got?" and then he was like, "Well, how thick do you want it?" And we were like, "I don't know, maybe a quarter inch." And so he was like, "Okay." So he did it, and we got him, and we screwed him into an old pair of corkers, and just took a regular old sheet metal screw and screwed them in. And on the corkers, they stayed in, and it was awesome. And we were walking on the river, and it was unbelievable how well it stuck, things like that. So that's when we really started tinkering with it, and we tried stop sign shapes and star shapes, different levels of thickness, different compounds of aluminum to see which would last longer and which worked the best and which was affordable, all this kind of stuff. And so after about a year of playing with it, and a good friend of ours is a guide down in South Olson, and Patrick tried him and was like, "Man, you guys actually might have something here. This works really great." And he said the same thing. He's like, "I'm a guide and can probably get this stuff for half price, but I'm an Orvis shop. I'm never going to wear Patagonia. I'm a Orvis endorsed guide, so I'm always going to wear Orvis boots, and they don't have an aluminum option." So he says, "I think you guys might have something going here." So our wives were tired of us talking about it and told us to put up or shut up. So we went to IFTD when it was in Florida back in 2016. We didn't have packaging. We didn't have a distribution plan. We weren't even really settled on what we found out was we weren't settled on the installation method, anything like that. But we just wanted to go to the show and talk to fly shop owners and see what their opinion was, whether or not this was a viable option. Response was great. Everybody was enamored by the idea, and the industry is really accepting when it comes to new brands. It seems like it is a bit of a big boys club, but if you have something that's cool, the big boys will acknowledge you and give you advice and take you in. One of them being Johnny at Fish Pond. He was immediately enamored with what we were doing, and he introduced us to a gentleman by the name of John McKnight, who was running the World Fly Fishing Championships in Colorado that year. It's the first time they'd been in the States in forever, and he too was enamored by the idea, and said, "Hey, you guys should come to the championships in Denver later this summer, and give these out and get feedback from some of the world's best fishermen." A, I'd never heard of fly fishing championships. B, I was psyched to get to go to Denver, and so we did it. So we made up 300 kits. Again, we still didn't have packaging or anything like that. We hadn't done much more R&D than what Scott and I had done fishing ourselves, and our friend Patrick, the guide. And he's like 140 pounds lightweight, and so our install method of just screwing them in on his felt boots was working great, and it was working great in our corkers because they have a real hard plastic inner liner with just simply screwing them in. So we go to the championships, give them out to all the competitors, figure out what this competitive fishing game is, get to know some of the competitors from Team USA and Team Canada. They were pretty responsive, and they all loved the idea, but they fell out of the boot, and it kind of put a stain on us. The fact that we were at such an event as the World Championships with a product that hadn't been tested to its extent, it kind of irritated some guys. Some people were just like, "What are you doing here? Why are you here?
Right.
Why are you wasting our time? You just drilled holes in my boots and these things fall out," and all this other kind of stuff. So we kind of went home with our tail tucked between our legs. And then in the process of that, Scott found out that his wife had a stage 3 brain tumor.
Okay.
or is it stage 4? Which is the worst? Stage 8 is what it could have been. And so it kind of took the wind out of our sails, along with the negative feedback we had gotten from the championships. And we just kind of floundered for a little bit. We just let what we had sitting there, just let it sit there for a while. People still kept calling. I mean, we were getting, I don't know, 2 or 3 emails a day about, where's your product? I heard about it. I've been following it. Well, we're ready to, I want to try it, all this type of stuff. And we were just like, well, we don't want to, we don't know, blah, blah, blah. Tiffany got into Duke. This is Scott's wife. They were like, get your affairs in order. You've got 6 months. Everybody hunkered down and figured it out. And then she got accepted into a trial. Unfortunately, she's still with us today.
Wow, that's awesome.
After three brain surgeries, unfortunately, it's going back and forth. The tumor's coming back. She actually goes next Friday for another new treatment. She's the poster child at Duke. They love her over there. She was one of the first ones to try this new something other that they were doing, and it worked to an extent. Got her. It's worked in the fact that the tumor hadn't grown for the last 3 years, but they can't, or 2 years, 2.5. They can't give it to her again, and the tumor's coming back, and so now she's going to be the first one to try the next thing that they've got. I don't want to get into the science of it, but it's pretty crazy.
Wow.
But also in the middle of Tiffany going through this brain tumor, and Scott trying to figure out what to do about his wife, and everybody thinks he's going to die. She's going to die, and it's not a pity party. But it kind of is. Everybody just kind of sits there and looks at each other, and it's like, what do we do?
Right.
Well, so we started tinkering with rock treads some more, and then Scott's son, one of the coolest kids in the planet, Tyler, kept complaining about his hips hurting while doing cross country. So they got him into physical therapy, and we're trying to figure out why his hips were hurting. And after about 3 weeks of that, the physical therapist was like, this isn't any groin or muscle issue. We need to get a scan. We need to get a CT scan and figure out what's going on. We found out Tyler had a really rare bone cancer.
Oh my God.
I don't know what it is about this neighborhood that they live in, but they've lived there for the last 12, 15 years. So mom's got a brain tumor, son's got a rare bone cancer. Scott is sitting there, and these are our best friends growing up. I mean, not growing up, but as an adults. We had my wife and Tiffany, they were pregnant together at the same times with our daughters that are now 12. Tyler was a couple years older. Anyway, Tyler didn't make it 6 months. He passed away in 17 or 18, I forget now. But he was diagnosed basically at Thanksgiving and made it to the 4th of July, essentially. And that was another one of those, just like, what the hell are we doing in life?
Yeah.
In the meantime, I'm working a job that, it was a great job. This is equipment distribution, and I covered Virginia, North and South Carolina, and was, traveling a little bit, but would always be home whenever I wanted to. Kids were doing great in school. We were living in Raleigh, North Carolina at the time, and all this going on with the bogs, and we had rock treads hanging there, and we wanted to move to Montana, and you just have those questions of what are we doing, and it's like, we're involved in a rat race that we don't want to be in, especially when you take a step back and look at it and kind of realize the materialistic nature that we were in school with the kids' schools. My daughter did a report in 3rd grade on why her class didn't have empathy, and she thought it was due to materialism. And this is 3rd grade.
Wow.
And we're just
what a heavy subject for a 3rd grader,
I know. I mean, it's like empathy is a word that I don't think many people even still understand what it means, much less for a 3rd grader to add materialism to the reason. I'd say all this, and I'm kind of droning on and on about it, but it just, one thing after the other, we're just like, we got to get out of here. Life is short. We didn't want to we had great friends, and the beach was close, and my mom had passed away 5 or 6 years before that. My dad still lived in Arkansas. My brothers lived in New York City. All my wife's family lived in Seattle or Montana. And it's like, why are we, what are we doing? Let's go. And so we sold everything, quit our really good jobs, and packed up and moved, and have been focusing on rock treads ever since.
Wow.
And so here we are. So life is short. Enjoy it. Go fishing. And we have a product that keeps you from getting dunked every time you go.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's all a great story, man. And I think, I don't think you listen to our podcast that often, but if you listen to our podcast, that's something that's a consistent theme, right? I call them corporate refugees, people who are in these jobs and in the rat race, right? And then something traumatic happens to them in life. My problem is, Forrest, when I was 11 years old, I was hit by a drunk driver. I was actually in a car accident with a drunk driver. He came into our lane and broke my hip. So I spent my entire middle school in a wheelchair, or like on crutches or on a walker kind of thing for entire middle school. Well, when your friends come up to you all pissed off because they didn't make the basketball team in 7th grade, you look at them like, what's the big deal? It changes your perspective. And as I've grown up as an adult, like I worked in corporate America for a long time, and my problem was I didn't take things very seriously. And these people have to give their soul to this. I mean, it's like, this is it. This is the best product ever. We're going to sell. And I'm just like, what's the big deal? I don't know if it screws up your perspective, or it's a good thing or a bad thing. Something traumatic happened to you like that as a kid. But you when you talk about your friends, his wife, Tiffany, I think you said her name, had cancer. His son passed away with rare bone cancer. Like, things just aren't that important anymore. People are, relationships are, fly fishing is with your friends, and it does change. And that's the whole point behind this podcast. That's how we started was, I was working in corporate America and just completely burned out. And I found fly fishing as a way to self-medicate, and then I realized, oh wait, life does not have to go so fast. It's not a super fast-paced thing. It doesn't have to be, And so I'm so excited about that story and where you guys have come from and overcome adversity, both with your partner and with you, and just your daughter, at that age, at 3rd grade. I mean, there's a lot of adults I know that don't have that conversation with themselves.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
No, totally. It's all about the newest Escalade and family vacation they can take somewhere exotic and rub it in your face on Facebook, basically.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
And Raleigh's a good town for that. It's old money mixed with new money. I mean, I think there's 200 people a day moving there.
Wow.
You got like 300 of the Fortune 500 have major operations or are based there. From IBM, GlaxoSmithKline, you got every pharmaceutical company in the world, and it's really highly educated, high paying workforce that makes up that whole area, and it's just, I don't know, it's just not for me. You just got tired of it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's interesting, very interesting.
The world's a weird place, man. And, you look at all these different groups that are involved with fly fishing trying to help from, you got Project Healing Waters with the veterans, Casting for Recovery and there's a bunch of different cancer ones. I just gotten to know the guys out of Arkansas from the Mayfly Project, which is taking orphans and orphanages and foster kids and teaching them, there's more to life than whatever, excuse my language, whatever shithole you're dealt with now, you can at least get into the river,
right?
Which is a really cool cause. And then you find now that I'm into the industry and we're on the internet, we get requests. Probably 3 or 4 a week of people. Can you donate a ticket for this raffle? Can you donate a kit for a raffle and stuff? And we do them all. But it's pretty amazing at the scope of I don't know, psychiatric help that fly fishing provides. It's interesting. I encourage everyone to do it or find something in your life that A, you enjoy, but B, when you're doing it and if you start thinking about something else, you end up messing up. It's kind of like if you're fly fishing and you start thinking about, I got to do this for work or whatever, you then all of a sudden you're in a knot. You've got a mess on your hands, a bird's nest, and you're not catching any fish, and it makes you ask, what am I doing here? I grew up as a golfer, played college golf, and was actually a club pro for years, and golf's another one of those things that while you're swinging, if you're thinking about something else, you're going to hit a bad shot. And so anything that anybody can find that gives them a singular focus, I highly encourage it. I think it's good for everybody needs to do it and take some of the stress out and the angst that I think people have in their lives if you can figure out things you enjoy that make you focus. But
yeah,
this Deep Thoughts by Roxanne.
Deep Thoughts by Rock Trance. No, but hey, thanks for hanging out with me for a little while, Forrest. I appreciate your story. I appreciate all that you guys do. Yeah, I think your product's great. I've got it here. Let me ask you a question though, because I use my boots. I have a felt bottom, or I can change it out for like a hard rubber bottom. I wonder if I could just take that hard rubber bottom and drill holes in them.
Oh yeah, people are always like, "Oh, I can't believe you're drilling a hole in your boot," and I'm going to be like, "You mean that boot that you walk in the mud and river with?
Right.
That boot that you throw into the back of your pickup truck until you go fishing again? The boots that just sit there that people think of their fly fishing boots as Cole Haan, Italian loafers, and it's just a stinking wading boot, I revert back to the story of 16 when we were at the fly fishing championships and everybody said, these are great, but they fall out. We tried everything. We probably spent $20,000 on R&D on designing different screws, different shapes, things like that to make them stay in. When it comes to CNC machining and the time on the computer to cytologically, we came up with auger screws, all these different kinds of ideas. It didn't matter. They all still fall out, especially in rubber boots. And one of the big things that happened on the South Holston River, which made it even more important, is because I kept wanting to use rubber boots, because when we first moved there back in 05 or 06, some didymo, I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but it's an algae that grows in some rivers and it's fine, but in other rivers it absolutely sucks all the oxygen out of the river and kills all the fish. And the South Holston River got a case of the didymo, and it was growing these snot rockets, we would call them. It looked like toilet paper in the water, but they'd be 30, 40 feet long of this white, really snotty, slimy algae, which I believe they determined it came from a river in Virginia that was just 2 hours to the north, which it grows there fine because that was a freestone and natural water and didn't have the oxygen content that ours did, that the tailwater does. And so once somebody was up there, came down with wet boots and fished and, went wading in the South Holston, and didymo started growing there, and it was really bad. And they had to shut the river down. They flushed it with pumice. They did all kinds of stuff to save it, and it worked. And I say all that, it was because of felt. And it's not to say that felt's the only reason. Your laces can hold stuff, your neoprene sock can hold stuff, but felt is a great scapegoat for bringing awareness to clean your gear off. Stuff can live in the felt for 30 days. If you go to take your wet felt boots, put them down on the concrete floor of your garage, face down, they will stay wet for 20 days. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
And then an algae can live in it for 30 days easily. It's this didymo stuff. It's weird. I mean, in New Zealand, they banned all felt because the South Island got didymo from somebody somewhere. And now it's a $10,000 fine if you're found with felt boots or didymo anywhere in New Zealand. $10,000.
Holy cow!
Changes people's attitude about it real quick, and they stop. They stop using felt and they start thinking about the fact that, hey, maybe I do need to wash my stuff off. Or how about leave it in the sun, let it dry out, get just simple little things that people are, the reason you fly fish is because it's in nature. You don't fly fish in ugly places. But we have to have some sort of awareness to take care of it and not kill it off, or we're not going to have anywhere to go fish. And cleaning your boots off it's got to be the easiest thing in the planet to do. But, when is the easy way? I don't know. People are lazy. People are ignorant, and they just don't care. They just think, what's it matter? And I think, well, it does matter. And there's cases all over the world that'll show you that it does matter. Mm-hmm. From Alaska, Yellowstone National Park doesn't allow felt. Missouri, Alaska, New York City, the New York watershed, Maryland, places like that. And the only reason they do that is because something bad happened, and they found out why, and they figured it out. And it's not, it's kind of like this coronavirus. People are like, oh, it's not that big a deal, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, how do you know?
Right.
These people that do this for a living are saying this, and it's like, I'm not an infectious disease. I'm not a entomologist. I'm not a stream wastewater management person either, and so it's like, if enough people say it that have scientific background, just believe it and go do it. Wash your boots off. Find another alternative. Right. It's not rocket science, but people want to make things more difficult than they are. But so I go back to we kept falling out of the boots, except in felt. Like our screw would hold well in felt, but then we had the whole felt discussion. And what we call our lockdown method, having to screw through the boot and bolt it in, it's the only way to make anything stay. If you look at the other options that are out there when it comes to studs, all of them, everybody talks about how they fall out. From the Sims Alumibrights, which are $30 for 10 of them, after the first use, they're going to start getting loose and they fall out. So much so that they've completely re-engineered their boot to be like a golf shoe now, and has a lug molded into the rubber to bolt something in. Patagonia with their boots with the bars. I mean, the Danner boot, God bless them, making a made in the USA boot, but it's $550 with aluminum on it. Right. But if you look at how they put the aluminum on it, it's bolted in. It's the only way to do it. And so it's the only way to do it and stay. So I tell anybody that's listening, yes, you do have to drill a hole through your precious mud water boot. But Rock Treads actually hold it together. They hold all your layers together. They only add 4 ounces to your boots. You don't notice the weight. And all the wear goes onto the Rock Treads and not on your sole itself. So it makes that boot actually last longer. We're getting 150 wade trips out of a set before the screw head wears out, and you can lose one that way. But 150 trips is a lifetime for a lot of people. And the boot bottoms they still look brand new almost. It's crazy.
Wow.
So we make your boots, granted we're drilling a hole in your boot, but we make them last longer. They make you last longer by not getting dunked or falling or, slipping a disc in your back or anything like that. And, yeah. But so all that research and everything led us to, we got invited to be a sponsor of the Fly Fishing Championships in 2019 in Tasmania, Australia. This wasn't a paid sponsorship. We had to send them samples, and then they had to vet us out and determine that it was a good enough product. And then so we ended up, over a year, they said yes. And by the Australian, I give kudos to the Australian men's and women's teams. They tested us out. Unbeknownst to me, I didn't know that these were the people that were doing the testing. But they tested us and loved us, and it's led us to, we got to go to Tasmania for essentially for free. We got to be the official attraction of the championships because our product was good enough. And we ended up on 18 different countries, and 70% of all the competitors at this year's championship, we were on their boots.
Wow.
We went there knowing that Team USA got all new boots that they had shipped directly to us, that we installed them and then shipped them out to the team. Same with Canada. So we had USA and Canada going, and we knew those guys, and we're excited to see about it. But then after being there one day, we had to install 68 pairs of boots in one night, and basically in 18 hours. And we're good at it, but it still takes me 25, 30 minutes a pair of boots to do it. So it's the first time I took my sales rep. He went with me, and we stayed up 2 nights till 4 o'clock installing boots. And it's like, this is the latest I've ever stayed awake sober in my life. I mean, we were pounding Diet Coke like it was going out of style while we were sitting there screwing in, doing these boots. And we had, you had to do it really well. These are competitors, I mean, from all over Scotland, Wales, Ireland. And there were 27 countries at this year's championship,
wow.
which is a little lower than normal, but it's hard to get to Tasmania. It was a 16-hour flight to start with, just to get there, and you have to fly to Australia, and then it's another 2-hour flight from Australia to the island of Tasmania. It was expensive and hard to get there, so there was less countries. Some of the European countries didn't go this year, but we ended up with 27 countries. We were on 69.8% of the boots that were there, if you did the math right. So we're pretty confident in saying 70%. Within the feedback since then has been great. We've because of that, one of the reasons we wanted to do it is I can't afford to advertise in Europe. I can't afford to advertise in the United States either, to be honest with you. But word of mouth and social media and sales reps and things like that have gotten us to where people have heard about us here. But in Europe, we were getting zero traction, for lack of a better term. But since we did this in November of 19, so that's only 4 or 5 months ago, we've gotten in 27 new shops in Europe, all because of those guys that were there, heard about us, saw us. We met with them. We were there for 10 days, so we ate dinner with all the teams every night at the hotel, and you got to know some of these guys, and they're all cool guys. They're just super fish nerds.
For sure, I have to check that out. That's really cool that you guys got to experience all the different cultures, and what brings us all together is fly fishing. I think that's a common ground, and like I've said several times, it's almost like this is a religion. I mean, you have different denominations. You have your spay casters, your dry fly only, and all these different things. But at the heart of it, we all have that same spirit of freedom and that spirit of being in the wilderness.
Yeah, the tug is the drug. It's true, and it's a different tug than it is on a bait caster or a spinning rod. It's fun. It's definitely fun.
Well, thank you very much for hanging out with us, Forrest. We'll be sure to put some links to your website and your socials down in the show notes. But thank you very much for hanging out with me, Forrest. Someone wants to get a hold of you guys. What is your web address? How would they get a hold of you or check out Rock Treads?
Yeah, just go to rocktreads.com, hit the contact us or the about us, or there's multiple ways to reach us on the website. Shoot us an email, send us something on Instagram.
That's awesome. Well, we'll be sure to put those links up on our show notes there and on our website and things like that. And thanks again, Forrest. We'll be in touch, I'm sure. I really appreciate your time.
No problem. Thanks for reaching out and having us. We're happy to tell anybody and everything we can.
Well, thanks again for hanging out with me this morning, as always.
Absolutely.
I mean, have you done anything productive? Well, you've been working this whole time. I was going to say, have you done anything productive during this time?
No, nothing productive. Just still working.
Oh, man, that's good. Nothing productive, just work. Wow, Bill. Don't let your boss hear that. No, I'm totally kidding. But guys, don't forget, me and Bill we're gonna put ourselves out there,
but not to get the virus.
We're gonna put ourselves out there, and we're going
on
to
paranormal date.
Oh, dude, no, we can't. We're married. We can't. I was gonna say we should set up a fake profile and catfish somebody.
This is a fishing podcast.
I couldn't do that with good conscience.
No.
I could. Oh my God, that would be so funny. No, but we're not going to catfish anybody. I
Nope.
really would think that would be funny. But guys, don't forget, March the 31st, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time from our socials. We're going to be streaming live fly tying demo. You can pick up your materials for that demo at remotenopressure.com. Also check out our decals. Once the demo's over, once everything's done, we're going to put that video out on our YouTube channel. So subscribe to the YouTube channel. And you can also order materials and tie along anytime you want. So we greatly appreciate all of your support during this crazy time with COVID-19. Bill, I just thank you for coming out.
Oh, yeah. My pleasure. Always fun.
It's under 10 people, so we can
Yeah.
hang out. We're not exactly 6 feet apart.
Well, it looks like it on camera.
It looks like it on camera,
we're
but
not.
we're not.
We're like, our knees are almost bumping.
It's very true. It's a little
We
awkward.
both looked down and we both pulled them in.
If only you guys could see the actual studio, because you only see like the black behind us, and it looks, relatively cool. But really, our studio is behind the scenes is interesting looking.
Maybe they'll see it the recording night, huh?
Maybe we don't know
Yeah.
where we're going to record.
live stream.
It's either going to be at our house or it's going to be my office, depending on what's going down. Our office would be amazing because that's beautiful and be good. But it doesn't matter where you guys are going to get it is on your internet. So be sure to check it out, remotenopressure.com. Get your fly tying materials today. And we look forward to seeing you guys on March 31st. Bill,
Yeah.
have an excellent week.
You as well. Stay safe.
Stay safe, everyone.
Wash your hands.
Until next time, try to go fishing. Try to go fishing. All right. Until next time, go fishing.